I'm out here today on the side of the road ready to collect some firewood. I got my chainsaw here. I just bought this chainsaw recently. This is my first ever chainsaw that I've owned myself. All the other chainsaws that I've used in my life are gas powered, steel brand chainsaws, but I'm an owner, as any of you who have seen my videos, I'm an owner of a lot of Makita power tools. I pretty much exclusively use Makita, so I already have all of these batteries. So I figured, you know what, let's just, if I'm gonna go invest in a chainsaw, I might as well get one that I can utilize these with, and let's face it, electric stuff is the future. That gets the job done all right. Nice. So all you gas engine purists out there, I get it. I can sympathize with you. I understand where you're coming from, but I decided I'm gonna go electric. Honestly, this thing works fantastic. I've used it a few times already. I'm just testing it out up at the cabin. I got a bunch of free firewood, but not enough to last me through the winter. So I wanna stockpile as much as I can while the weather is good. That's why this is firewood season. During the summertime, you gather all your firewood so that when winter rolls around and the cold weather comes and you need wood for your wood stove, you can stay warm and not have to worry about going to gather wood in wet, cold conditions. So there's a couple reasons why I'm out here on the side of the road. One is because, well, it's free firewood just sitting along the ditch, along the road. To me, I feel like I'm doing a public service. I'm doing free work for the state by clearing up the sides of the road. And during the wintertime, trees fall over and cross the road, cross the ditches all the time. And to me, it's just like free wood, because oftentimes those things don't get cleaned up by the state. And if they do, they just chop it up and throw it off to the side into the woods. And to me, it's like, hey, I might as well do that and then use some of that wood rather than just letting it rot and become dirt. I could utilize that. So if I'm breaking the law, come at me, bro. I don't it's like, is somebody really gonna have a problem with me doing that? I don't think so. And if they do, I don't know. I feel like reasonable people would understand the argument that I just made. So if I offend any snowflakes out there by breaking the law here, I affirm you as a beautiful snowflake, and I want you to know you are loved. There you go. All right, I'm off to a solid start here, and I cleared this little turnout here. So servicing my community and getting the firewood that I need. But I'm gonna back up to that area over there because there's some more down trees that I can utilize, I think. I did forget my gloves, which sucks, but a little pitch and a few slivers never hurt anybody. Time to change batteries. That was like less than a quarter of the truck bed with 2 batteries. So I should have plenty of battery power to get a truckload of wood. 2 freshies. Oh yeah. While we're here, let's top off the bar and chain oil. Hey, would you look at that? I can fill things without spilling and making a mess. Unlike the oil change on the generator the other day. All right, bar and chain oil is full, and this chainsaw lets you know how much battery life you have when you press that button. It's a pretty cool feature. So we're good. Let's do it. Now these pieces are pretty big, bigger than I would like to collect, because what I was trying to do is get pieces that I wouldn't have to chop. That's less work, but I think it'd be a good idea to split these ones at least in half because they are quite big. And the thing about this tree is that it's still green, so it's like wet to the touch. But all that free firewood that I got is very seasoned, meaning it's been sitting around for several years, allowed to breathe and dry. So it is super, super dry, the stuff that I have up at the cabin right now. So if I get my fires started with the really dry wood, get it burning hot, then I can throw these more green pieces in there, and at night they'll burn really, really slow and keep the fire going throughout the night. At least that's the idea. That's thinking on the positive side about these pieces, but I think that's the case. All right, I'm just taking my time, driving slow, trying to look for spots where there's more down trees and room enough on the side of the road for me to pull off. Definitely lots of trees down, but that's the problem, is trying to find a spot that's safe to pull off the side of the road. All right, I found another pull out here. Let's check it out. There's some good pieces across the road. So that last spot, I was able to get about half a truckload. Let's see how much I can get from here. Oh, and by the way, it's like 8 o'clock right now. I'm very tired, and this is the same day that I went to Ape Canyon and the Plains of Abraham. Here's my pack for proof. Not that that's legit proof, because I could just have my pack in the truck at all times, but I'm wearing the same shirt that I wore in that video. And look, there's my gray running shorts that I was wearing in that video too. That's my underwear right now. So I smell really, really good right now. Because I got all that sweat from that hike that I made. TMI. Let's finish the firewood. Man, there's some really nice pieces over there. This thing is dead and dry. There's a bunch more over there. Oh yeah, I did it, and I didn't hurt myself. Yeah, mission accomplished. All right, so I want to show you guys a technique. This is an ancient technique. It's called power stance. You own the universe. Now give me an E chord. Just go. Ugh.
But let me hear. Yeah, now raise your goblet of rock.
Just kidding. Just kidding. No, it's for cutting bigger logs like this. It's a toast to those who rock. Now nod your head.
And let me see your eyeballs wide like there's something wrong. Yeah!
Great movie. Probably the best movie of all time. Okay, no, what I'm really talking about is, see these teeth right here on the chainsaw? Gnarly teeth, almost pretty much every chainsaw has those, I think. And that is for when you got a bigger log to cut. Like those other ones that I started with, they were just hanging in the air and they're so small, all I have to do is just pull the trigger, use the chain, and really quickly I can just cut them. But with a big log like this, what I do is get started at the top, dig in just enough to where these teeth can grab onto the log, grab the log, and then pivot the bar down, kind of chop at it, and then I'll pull back, dig the teeth in again, pull down again, and I'll just do that kind of seesaw thing back and forth until I go all the way through. And there you go. Now, for anybody who's ever watched my other videos, you always know I say this all the time. I'm not a professional electrician. I'm not a professional plumber. I'm not a professional logger. Now, the people who are professionals, they would be wearing a hard hat with a metal fence over their face, and they would be wearing earplugs, and they would be wearing chaps to protect their legs in case the chainsaw slips and they hit their legs, they don't cut themselves. There's all these precautions and techniques that professionals adhere to that I am not adhering to right now. And so I'm not an expert, but much like those other things that you see me doing, I know how to get the job done. So this is a way to get the job done. And ultimately, it's up to you to make safe decisions for yourself and be smart. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't try things by yourself. Just use your noggin. All right, that's the last of my batteries for tonight, which is good. It's almost dark anyways, so I used all 8 batteries. So it is about 1 truckload for 8 batteries on that chainsaw. We'll see how, I'm gonna have to split all of these and stack them, so we'll see how far this gets me. Maybe I'll come back out here. But let's head back to the cabin. All right, so I'm back here at the cabin. I put a tarp over my truck just in case it rained. Luckily for me, it didn't, but just to be safe, I didn't want all that wood to get wet. So eventually my plan out here is to build a woodshed. And that woodshed, I think, is gonna go right here between these 2 big trees in front of the garage here. I cleared out this area and tried to level it out, put some boulders in there. I was thinking about just like stacking the wood right on the dirt. Not right on the dirt, putting some boards down, but just having piles of wood and covering it with the tarp and calling it good. But I've decided I think I want to build a shed, like a real building with a metal roof and everything, and siding that matches the cabin and the garage, and make it really nice. But that's gonna take a while. It's going to take a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of money too. So in the meantime, I'm just going to take whatever firewood I have and put it here on the porch, just like I used to do. But with the porch, I have limited space. I used to just keep it right underneath this window, and you can't really store very much. So I'm gonna build kind of a temporary woodshed here. So all of those right there are just trees that had fallen down around the cabin that I chopped up. That is firewood that I got for free from one of my neighbors here. They had a tree that they fell, and they don't have a wood stove in their cabin, so they just gave me all of that wood for free, which is awesome. These are from another neighbor that gave me those logs that I had to split. This is free stuff that I got from my old neighbor, and same goes for that right there. I've got a good amount of wood. We'll see how much I can fit in this space here. But regardless, I don't think, even if I fill up this entire porch right here, it's not gonna last me through the winter. So hopefully what I can do is fill up this area, use that wood while I need it, while I build my woodshed out here. And then by the time the woodshed is done, whatever I have left over can be moved into there, and then I'll go out and get more firewood. All this is being done in the name of staying warm during the winter inside the cabin. That's what a wood stove is for. But you need wood to make fires to keep the cabin warm. So it's a lot of work, but it's worth it when it's freezing cold in the wintertime, snowy outside, and you can stay warm inside. Funny thing about wood heat is that I grew up in the house that I grew up in, well, from like middle school through high school, we had a wood stove in our house. And so it was my job to help collect firewood and chop it. Part of me liked chopping firewood, but then it would get really old and it would make me very tired. And I was just like, man, firewood sucks. Wood heat sucks. When I grow up and I get my own house, I'm gonna have electric heat and all I have to do is turn a knob and it comes on. But you have to pay your electricity bill. And then, you know, I think about the world differently now than I used to when, you know, somebody else took care of paying the bills and all I had to do was turn that knob. Now it's like, okay, I got to pay the bills. And what if, for whatever reason, I go to turn my knob and there's no more power? What are you going to do then? You're just going to freeze to death. So that's why wood heat appeals to me, because I have the control. It's up to me to collect my firewood, and as long as I got matches, or I'll learn how to make friction fire, like whatever, wood stove can help you stay alive under certain circumstances. So wood heat is that's my go-to now, and I don't mind chopping wood or going out and collecting it. In fact, I see the benefits of the process and having to work for it. I guess I just appreciate having to work for things and the reward that I get out of it for all different types of things in my life. Things that come easy, you just don't appreciate them as much. That's my philosophy anyways. A philosophy that has been cultivated through my life experiences, not just something that somebody told me and I was like, hey, I'll adopt that. I mean, part of that is true. Hearing other people's stories and life experiences definitely helps to cultivate the way that you think. But also, like I was saying, that evolution of electric heat and learning how it's created and how it might not always be available, and then having a wood stove at the cabin, collecting firewood myself, striking the match, lighting it on fire, seeing the results of it heating myself while I'm here in the wintertime. I'm like, oh, okay, this is what I want to do. This is what I think about this. So consider that the next time you're in your house, apartment, wherever you live. What are you going to do if it's the middle of winter and it's freezing outside, below 32 degrees Fahrenheit, and you go to turn on that heater and nothing happens? At the very least, get yourself a bunch of blankets and a beanie. Just think about that. So I've found in my experience, when you're chopping wood, it helps to have it elevated off the ground for a couple different reasons. If I put this log down here and I split it, my splitting maul is gonna bust that piece of wood, and then the blade is gonna break into the dirt, and that's gonna dull my blade faster than it would if I had the log elevated up here and I split it, and then the blade falls through and hits right here. You can see how my chopping block has all these marks in it. That's because I've used it for that exact purpose, to protect the blade of my splitting maul. And then when you get set up, you want to try and level this chopping block so that it's sitting relatively level, so that when you place your logs on here, it's sitting relatively straight. Obviously nothing's perfect, but this is a nice stance right here that I got going. So the next thing that I consider when I'm splitting my wood is taking a look at this chunk of wood that I've got here. It's got a natural split in it right here. So that is where I'm going to aim. So I'm gonna rotate this log so that it's straight in line with my stance, where this natural split is where I'm gonna hit. Now this piece is very, very dry already, so it's gonna split pretty easy. I should be able to whack it pretty good just one time because it's already got a split on this end. So if I hit it over here, and if I have good aim, it's gonna split. So I'll put this next piece back up here and look for another natural split. Now, like I said, this one's so dry, I don't even really have to concern myself with those splits because it's so primed and ready to be split. It doesn't really matter where I hit it. But even with that being said, look at this. It's got a giant split right here. So if I hit it right here, that's where it's gonna bust open. See, I hit it right in the sweet spot there, right at that crack that I was showing you, and it went right down the line there. Now there are many different wood chopping techniques, just like Ray Allen is going to shoot the ball differently than Steph Curry or Alonzo Ball, but they all get the ball in the net. My approach is to bring the maul directly above my head so that when it's coming down, it's coming straight down. That's how I aim properly. So I line myself up with the crack. So if I line myself up in the middle and I have my maul directly above my head, and I kind of push up in the air with the maul like that, kind of throwing it up in the air and then letting my hand slide down, and by the time the maul reaches the log, my hands are here. So it's like lift, throw, drop, hands, and split. That technique is going to relieve a lot of back pain because I'm letting the maul do the work. I don't know how heavy this is, but it's pretty heavy. So if I'm relying on my muscles to do all this swinging, and it doesn't have to be as hard as a lot of people make it. So a lot of the heavy lifting is right here. Lift, throw, and then the rest is basically just gravity taking over and letting the maul come down. So that's all the work right there. All the work is done once it starts to come down. I'm just in control at the bottom. Work and then relief. Aim, work, and relief. Aim, work, and relief. Now it gets more difficult when you've got wet logs. Let me show you that. Here's a chunk of that alder. I think this is alder. See, it's got a tiny little split in it right there, but for the most part, this thing is still wet to the touch. This is going to be much harder to split because the bark is still on there. So that's like a rubber band holding around the log. So it's going to be harder to bust it open because it's got that bark around there and it's wet. So it's less willing to split with a simple strike of the maul that I have. Now, if I consider all of those factors before I start to split, that's going to help me split it easier. So I'm not going to go into this swinging with all my might and trying to split it on the first go, because even if I was Arnold Schwarzenegger in the 80s with all of his strength with a really good maul, there's some logs that you're just not going to be able to split on one go. It's just not going to happen. So you consider that and you take small bites, starting farthest away from you and then working your way towards yourself. Who knows? I don't know what's about to happen. Maybe this will split in one go, but let's see. But I'm gonna aim for the edge right there. Yep. So that was my first strike. See how juicy that is? But I made a crack. See that? Farthest away from me. Now the next strike, I'm gonna hit it in the middle and I think it's gonna split. But if it didn't split, I would go down here and then have it split closest to me. So let's see what happens on the second strike. That was good aim on the first one. Kind of proud of myself. Oh, see, I hit it in the middle, but I was off. That's okay. See, even though I was off a little bit, it's got a split that I created closer to myself. So as long as I hit it there on my third strike, I should be good. Oh, so close. See that? This bark, I'm telling you, that's what's holding it together. But I got a split in that bark. So now let's try and go in the middle. So I went furthest away in the middle, closer to me. Now we'll go in the middle one more time. And we split. And that wasn't a hard swing. I just knew that I had already started that process of cracking it open. So I'm not trying to split it with the force of the maul. I'm using that technique that I was talking about. Now that it's split in half, I think it'll split again, just with a nice, good, proper technique swing. There we go. Now these are much more wet than the first log that I was splitting with, but now that these are busted open and I stack them and give them air to breathe, those can dry out. Now there is a reason why I said to start splitting furthest away from me first and then work down this way, because I'm pretty confident that I can't split this piece in one go. So that's why I'm going to start furthest away in hopes that by the time I reach here, on contact closer to me, that's when it will break, because then my blade is gonna fall down and then hit the chopping block down here. If I hit it furthest away from me and it splits right there, then the handle of the maul is gonna hit the log like this, and you do not want that because it hurts your hands, and then you could possibly snap the handle. So I've had that happen several times where you give it a really good swing, you hit it right here, it splits, and then your handle hits the wood and it like rebounds, and it's just not good. So that's the reason for the like start here, middle, closer, and then middle again. That's the reason. In fact, let me see if I can create that scenario. So I'm gonna start by hitting it closer to me. Might not work. That split pretty good. But let's see what happens if I just hit it over here. Maybe I'll rotate. If I hit it furthest away from me, let's see if I can show you how that hits the handle. See that? I'll try and slow-mo that so you can see it, but yeah, it split here and then my handle hit. Don't want that. Pro tips from a non-professional. Maybe that's what I should call this channel. That's pretty much all I do. All right, enough talking. I'm gonna split the rest of this wood and stack it. That's a lot of firewood there, and I still have room for more. I could put some more here, some more over there, and then I have space for a whole nother row right here. So my next trip down the roads, I'm probably gonna take my chainsaw with me and my batteries and everything that I need, and get not a full load, because I think a full load would be too much, but maybe like a half truckload in the bed of my truck to fill up the rest of this space in here. And I'll call that good until I get my shed built over there, which is going to be, I don't know when, we'll just have to see. But I really appreciate you guys watching this video, sticking it out to the end. Hopefully it was worth your time, and I will see you on the next one. Thanks.